So I'm back after a break, an extended break. I was going through a hiring process, got a job as an engineer, so that's pretty awesome. I'm working as an integration engineer at Stellantis, so that's a big car manufacturer. They have a bunch of brands like Jeep, Ram, Maserati, Chrysler, and yeah, so it's pretty awesome. I'm going to be an integration engineer, testing software. So when there's a new feature, run some basic tests, make sure things are working right. So it's pretty cool. Pretty excited. I'm going to be working on that. Yeah, it feels good to be finally employed. It's been years since the last engineering job. Let's see, almost 4 years. So, yeah, during that time, I was questioning, like, is this something I can keep doing? Because I just keep applying to jobs over and over again, get interviews, but nothing comes through. Is it because of COVID? Should I be landing a job anyway, even despite COVID? Am I just not smart? Am I, how am I going to, you know, move forward in life? And then even doubting whether I should change the career. So I talked about that in a couple of podcasts in the past. And yeah, it's funny. Things just change as soon as you get the job. So far, it's been good. So yeah, I don't know how my thoughts on that will change, but pretty sure they will. Only time will tell. So yeah, so far it's all good. Employed, full time, and having that income is a relief. I can start planning for future, in terms of investments and um, where to live and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been awesome. So that's a big reason why the podcast hasn't been updated for over a month. I mean, that's kind of the reason, but I guess the main reason is I've been lazy and yeah, struggling to get guests or thinking about what to say. But things have kind of calmed down. So anyway, here's the next one, number 51. Just finished reading a book maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. It's the David Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me. I read it pretty quick in about 2 or 3 days. It's his life story from childhood until present time, which at the release of the book was 2018 or somewhere around that time. So he talks about growing up, getting into the military, ultra marathon running, and it's pretty cool because I've seen him online on YouTube in podcasts and video clips. So his way of speaking is in my mind when I'm reading the book. So I actually read it, just to be clear, not listening to the audiobook, which is read by him, as far as I know. And yeah, it's funny when you read things, like I read it in my own voice, in my own pace, but it's like a mix of the way I read and the way I've heard him talk. Anyway, the way it read was like the way he talks. So it was cool. It was like having an intense conversation with someone, except you're just reading a monologue basically, because it only goes one way. But yeah, what I got out of that was that it's a book about perseverance and also I don't know what to say, like dealing with your demons, I guess is a good way to put it. Like whatever doubts you have, or things that drive you, or trauma. In many examples, he didn't let that defeat him in the long term. For example, running 100 kilometer, or maybe it was a mile. I think it was a mile, 100-mile race for the first time with pretty much no formal marathon or ultra marathon running training. He even talks about it in the book. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but that attempt um, has some pretty bad consequences. So, like, basically, he goes to the hospital. So, but somehow he gets it done, which I guess you could say it's kind of dumb, but from the perspective when you read it, it's like, hey, I did it. Like, you know, I said I'd do it and I did it. So there's something to be said about doing something that has harmful consequences, but you got to do it anyway. But yeah, that kind of goes into the essence of being a person in difficult situations. You can give in or just fight through. So it's definitely inspiring. Um, it's definitely a book I would want to go back to sometime, since I've read it the first time all the way through pretty quickly. I can kind of take my time the second time because the anticipation isn't driving the read. It's more about reflecting on the first time you read it, what you know, and trying to glean something else from it. I also saw Moon Knight. That's a Disney Plus series that just released its last episode a couple of weeks ago. It's a story about a man with multiple personalities that are distinct from each other, meaning they don't know about each other. But as the show moves on, they meet each other and are aware of each other. And he's also possessed by an Egyptian god. Maybe possessed is not the right word, but yeah, whatever. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I really like that. The story's cool. When I was younger, probably around when I was 10 or something, we had a whole unit on Egypt and mummies and pharaohs and things like that in class in school. So I got really into it. I think I bought this giant book of Egypt stuff. So yeah, watching a story based on Egyptian lore. I don't know if lore is the right word, but it was cool. I don't know how much of it is fictional and how much is based on real life mythology. But so far, Disney Plus series are always on point. There's a cliffhanger at the end of every episode. This one had 6 episodes. They're pretty good at introducing characters and plots, building up a story, anticipation. I like the video. I like the audio editing. It's awesome. So yeah, that's definitely something to rewatch at some point. I also saw this movie, Deja Vu. It's an old movie from 2006 with Denzel Washington. It's like an action thriller with a bit of sci-fi in it. Funny thing is, after I watched the movie, I really liked it. But I went to the Wikipedia page and saw apparently even the director and maybe some of the producers weren't happy with the end result. But whatever. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool because it was sci-fi, but it was mostly action. So I don't know if it's because I'm watching it. What is it, like 16 years after, that it's cool, because the most sci-fi movies I've seen are like all sci-fi, but this was an action thriller with a bit of sci-fi. So anyway, it's pretty cool. It's a story about a officer. I think it's an ATF officer in the U.S. who comes to the scene of a what turns out to be a terrorist um, explosion, and he's trying to find the person who did that. And as he does this, as he's looking for this person, he gets pulled into this group where they can peer into the past. And then, then it brings up this whole question of, hey, can I stop the crime before it happens? So it's mostly an action thriller, but it's cool because there's a sprinkle of sci-fi. I also watched this movie called The Contractor. It's a Chris Pine movie on Amazon Prime. It's a pretty cool, like standard action thriller. I've been into those movies lately. Mm, yeah, I mean, like if you're trying to watch something like groundbreaking, that's not that as far as my experience of it, but it was pretty solid. Like I was interested in the whole thing from start to finish. There were a couple of plot twists I didn't see coming. I don't know. It's been a while, so I don't remember. But I think overall, like from start to finish, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I like the genre, so I think they did a good job. I definitely watch it again. Um, And then keeping on the movie kind of theme, Death on the Nile. That was a good whodunit. It moves pretty quickly. Kind of like a classic story of you trying to figure out who the killer is. But the way I watched it, the story's like one step ahead. So a couple of things I kind of guessed, but I think that's what makes a good movie. Like you might be able to guess some things, but not everything. So that's how it kind of went. So I enjoyed that. It's pretty awesome. I wonder if they're going to do any more because they already did the first one, Murder on the Orient Express. Um, that ending, the ending of that movie was kind of weird, but you know, I don't know. Did it ruin the movie the way it ended to find out who the killer was? I feel like that's either you liked it or you didn't. If you look at it and you don't consider the ending, it's pretty good. Like the build up and the suspense was good and made sense. But the conclusion, I guess I could live with it.